Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to share some of my insights about what I have learned so far messing around with Chat GPT, specifically 3.5 and GPT-4 in sales prospecting use cases. And so I'm just going to share a couple of insights of how we should start thinking about how to use artificial intelligence in sales prospecting. And then I'm going to show some examples of how you could use artificial intelligence. And so the biggest thing that I want to cover is, in my opinion, there are three major use cases to use artificial intelligence in sales prospecting. The first one is to clean and categorize unstructured data. So what I mean by this is if you have a data set that is pretty messy and all you need is to pull one insight out of that data set and then bring it into another column or bring it into another more usable format. Artificial intelligence is great at doing this when a regular expression won't work or when just splitting columns aren't going to work because they're not all by the same keyword or something. It does a really good job of doing that. The second use case is to summarize or infer decisions from inputs. And so using somebody's LinkedIn summary, recent news about a company, their LinkedIn posts, some of those kinds of things are a phenomenal use case inside of Clay using artificial intelligence, because now we can create these custom snippets, which we're going to get into. And the third major use case is creating a full email to reach out to prospects using artificial intelligence. And my recommendation, the reason I mention this is because I see a lot of people trying to do this. And while this is a use case for GPT, I actually do not recommend anybody does this. And the reason why is because when you do this, artificial intelligence starts having too much variance in the output that it's going to deliver, and you just lose control over the entire process. And so when you think about, well, what am I actually trying to customize for? What you're actually trying to customize for is that unique insight that you want to bring to that prospect at scale. And that can usually be accomplished in under 12 words. You don't need to change your email completely in order to get that across. And so I don't recommend anybody creates full emails to reach out to prospects with inside of ChatGPT. I am a big fan of just using snippets and bringing those insights into the snippets. Um, the next thing I would just want to cover is the difference between ChatGPT 3.5 and GPT-4. In my experience, the difference between GPT-3, the DaVinci model, versus 3.5 Turbo, 3.5 Turbo or ChatGPT is, I would say, I don't know, 10 times better than GPT-3 with the DaVinci model. And what also makes it amazing is the fact that you can converse with ChatGPT, and in that way you can give it inputs, and then you could show it, hey, here's what I want an output to look like, and then you could give it another input, and then it'll output data the way that you wanted it to. And so that is a huge win for being able to stipulate the way that you want your data to actually be outputted. Now, don't get me wrong, GPT-4 is very, very exciting. And it's definitely better than ChatGPT, or if you want to call it 3.5 Turbo. It is definitely better than those. But for the extra cost and the running it and possibly having some downtimes because of the APIs and everything, honestly, I don't see a huge difference when I'm using really good prompts in 3.5 with a lot of good examples, and then when I'm using GPT-4 as well. GPT-4 is more creative. It does come up with a little bit better ideas and has better inferences, but I honestly find that 3.5 is just as good. And so moving on from there, I just wanted to cover how we should be thinking about conversing with ChatGPT. We're going to show this inside of Clay, but it's very much similar to the way if you're using the product, you just use the product and you just interface with it. And we're just going to take like a little break inside of Clay from that document. But so when you're conversing with ChatGPT, what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to have 4 messages back and forth. And so you're going to have a choice between the system, the user, and the assistant. The system, this is just the context that you're giving for the message. And so you're saying, oh, I want you to be an assistant who's going to help me write a sales email. You could also change this and say, hey, you are Dwayne The Rock Johnson trying to sell Clay, or you're like Conor McGregor trying to sell Salesforce, right? You could give it its context here of what character it should be playing. I haven't seen it change the outputs too much, but I just use the system to keep everything easy. Then you would come down, and I would always start off with user, because when you jump into ChatGPT, you're the first one who starts the conversation. So then we would start with user. Imagine when you're interfacing with ChatGPT, user is you. Whatever you're typing in, that's what you're getting. Now, the best part about the way that we have this set up is then you can have the assistant, and you could stipulate, okay, when I give you this input, I want you to give me this output. And that is a really powerful upgrade for the way that we can interface with artificial intelligence and generative text in general. So a lot of people ask, should I be using GPT-3? Should I be using complete prompt? All of these things. Honestly, I think everything you could just switch over to converse with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is amazing. If you're using the API, you've seen the big differences. I've moved everything into ChatGPT now. So let's go back to the doc. And so here are some examples that we're going to be going over, and I'm going to show the prompts in the way that I use it. So the first example will be personalize an icebreaker about a company based on a company description. We're going to clean some job titles. We're going to infer how long someone has experience in a role. We're going to make some decisions about some data sets. We're going to create ideas of how a prospect could use our product or service in their company. Pull news for when a person was working at an organization in their past history and ask if they were there or a part of the news. Infer what a person's focus is from their job title. Infer why a company would be looking to hire a role and how that affects their company mission, and some other things. And without further ado, let's jump into the prompts and see how we do it. Okay, so the first one is we're going to be creating the first line for an email, basically saying, I was on your website and it looks like you help resolve every alert and stop breaches. So basically, this is for a company called Critical Start, this is exactly what they do. So the way that we set this up is we just had two messages, and we said, you're an assistant helping me write the first line to a sales email, and then just the user. And then this is just very, very easy. Using the input, finish a sentence about what a company does. This is the input, and then we put the company description here. Complete my sentence in under 8 words and use keywords from the input. Complete each prompt using my prefix here. I was on your website and it looks like you help. Pretty easy stuff. This is a classic example of the way that I'm doing a lot of my prompts right now. And so I'm going to break this down piece by piece, and you'll see how we keep using this later on in the video. And so if I have an input from an outside source, I always give it the context up front. And I say, using the input, do something, right? I always say that. And then I'll stipulate to it, and I'll say, this is the input, and I put that in quotes. So I'm making it very, very obvious that this is the input. After I've established what the input is, I give it the context of what I want it to do. I want it to complete my sentence in under 8 words and use keywords from the input. Basically, I want it to be short. I don't want it to go crazy and write, a 10-paragraph essay off of this. And I want it to use keywords from the input, because if it only has 8 words, I want it to be very particular about the words that it's actually using. And then here we're saying complete each prompt using my prefix here. I was on your website and it looks like you help. This is how I keep control over the prompt. So I know exactly what it's going to start with. And then because I gave it this context, I basically know what it's going to end with as well. And so let's see. Yeah. So I always am basically stipulating an input, stipulating the output of what I want it to look like, and then stipulating what the prefix is, so that I'm always in control of these things. Then for the stop sequence, I only used it on this one. I put a period as the stop sequence. And I do that here because I'm basically saying, anytime you're about to generate a period, stop. And so that's how I definitely keep this line under one sentence, because if it feels like it's about to generate a period, then it stops everything and it doesn't keep running over. When I do my email sequencing, I just put a period at the end and we're good to go. And that's how I ensure that we're only writing one line about these things. So that's how we write a first line on the company mission. Another way that I use ChatGPT is to normalize people's job titles. If you were to reach out to this person and say, hey, Vasu, notice that you're the CEO, founder of Termtegrity, they would know that data is scraped. That isn't a very good look. Same thing here. Hey, Sam, notice that you're the COO, co-founder of Biolabs. It really doesn't look good. Because you obviously took it from their LinkedIn profile. So here we could see that we've normalized. Yeah, let's just move this over. We've normalized these titles so that we can use these titles when we reach out to people. And so this is a good example of stipulating data for when I want that data. So I had 4 messages, so we're obviously going to stipulate something. So I just gave it context at first. Then I said, as a user, clean these job titles and make them shorter and to the point. And then I just gave it a bunch of examples that need to be cleaned. And these I just came from the top of my head. I could probably improve them more if I'd like. And then for content for message 3, I fixed all of the titles the way that I wanted the titles to be fixed. So that I just stipulated to it exactly the way I want everything to look. And then basically clean this job title and make them shorter and to the point. Did it again, and now we have all of these job titles normalized. Very, very simple, but this could really increase the chance of prospects replying if you want to use their job title in the output. This one is a lot of fun. And so what we're doing here is, remember how I said we can use Chat GPT to make inferences based off of data sets? This is a really good one for that. And so basically what I am trying to figure out is I want to know who has been in their company for 2 years and then they switched companies. So basically I'm looking for somebody who they were at a company for 2 years and then they left. And then they were at another company for 2 years and then they left. And then they were at another company for 2 years and then they left. And so I'm giving it all of these people's start dates, and then it's outputting for me how many of those start dates, so their past experiences, how many of those were just a 2-year sprint before they moved on to the next one. And so I say, using the start and end date inputs, go line by line and tell me if any of these dates are within 2 years of each other. The output should be how many dates are between 2 years of each other. The inputs are in, this format. If an input is empty, just ignore it and keep analyzing. And so this is just sample data, right? And so then all 4 of them are within 2 years of each other. Yeah, that's true. All 4 of them are within 4 years of each other. And then this is just more sample data. Again, just training it and teaching it the way that I want. So this one, this one, this one, and this one. Oh, maybe it was 4. Whoops. I changed this just for the video, but it was 4. Whoops. So all 4 of these again were there, and then we could just hit save changes. And you can see from all of these people's experiences, we have, this person was in a role 3 times in their past 4 experiences that lasted for 2 years, and then they bounced to another company. In the last 4 experiences of this person, they have never just been at a company for 2 years and then bounced on to the next experience. Again, this person did, this person didn't really, this person didn't really, and so on and so forth. So you could give it a lot of data and just, instead of manually looking at data, you could have it make decisions, which is absolutely phenomenal. This is one of my favorite. I think every company in the world should be looking at how they can use artificial intelligence to be able to do this. What we're doing here is we're essentially giving people ideas of how they would be able to use Clay at their company. And so what I mean by this is, basically I'm taking a company description and then I'm giving a description about what Clay does. And then I'm saying, hey, give them ideas about the way that they would be able to use the product if they were to start using the product. Right. And so our prompts look like this. And this is a very long prompt. Well, mostly because we have the description here, but we're saying, help me create creative ideas about how a company could use my product at their company. The input I will give you will be the company description of the company. Create 3 ideas about how they could use my product. My product is a sales automation tool that helps people build much better lists. They can unify all of their data enrichments in one place and send better outbound messages, which this can obviously be improved. The company description that I want to sell to is here. And then we give them the company description. Boom, boom. This is Gong. Right? And then we finish up, create 3 outbound campaign ideas for them, and make sure to mention the types of job titles we would reach out to and why we would reach out to them. Be creative with the ideas, but keep them under 12 words each. So then I just gave it some ideas so that I could just show it, hey, this is what I want the ideas to look like. And then we gave it a full company description, and then we just let it rip. And so we see here, target IT managers seeking MDR solutions, improve alert resolution with automation, reach out to CISOs of growing firms, streamline detection and response processes, and all of these things. Right, and we can review some of these, but they're basically saying like, hey, this is our product. Here's how you could use our product at your company because I looked you guys up. One of my favorite ones to happen right now. That I might even turn just that one into a video because that one's absolutely fantastic. This one is a lot of fun. What we did is we pulled we pulled from their past experience, so their second or third experience. I pulled a news story about their third experience company and basically did two things. I summarized what the news story was about, and I pulled in their company that they used to work for as well. And so the way that we did this is we just basically said, using the input, summarize the news headline and complete my sentence with it. This is the input. Keep the output under 10 words and use specific keywords from the input. Complete each output with my prefix. Notice you used to work at this company. Were you there when blah, blah, blah? So notice you used to work at Critical Start. Were you there when MDR service launched for Cortex Axiom? Notice you used to work at Zerply. Were you there when Bootstrap Labs partnered with mParticle Incorporated? Notice you used to work at the Business Council. Were you there when Join Pavilion launched Rising Star Class? I think this is a really interesting one to be able to reach out to people and give some nostalgia based on corporate events at their past companies as well. And this one was also fun because we were doing two things in one. This one is just very simple. We were just inferring what people do based on their job title and what they find is important. This could really be used as an input for something else later down the line. So using the input, help me understand quickly what this person's responsibilities are within a company. This is the input. In under 8 words, explain to me what problems they may be facing in their role. Again, down the line, this could be interesting. I would probably feed this into another Chat GPT input to basically say, okay, these are the things that this person is concerned about in their company. How could my software help them in their company accomplish these goals? So then we could do another inference thing. And then over here, this one's a lot of fun too. What I did is I found these companies and what jobs that they're hiring for. And then I basically made a AI generated line about, hey, I noticed you're hiring for this role. And I would imagine you're hiring for this role because you want to improve X within the company so that you can accomplish your mission. The way we did this was using the two inputs. Help me infer why a company would be hiring a person. Input 1 is the company description. Input 2 is the open job role they are hiring for. I just gave it to them. Write one sentence using keywords from input 1 about how hiring this person would help the company accomplish their mission. Keep the output under 8 words. Complete my sentence using the prefix and all of this stuff. I saw on your job board that you're hiring for job title. I'd imagine you're looking for someone to boost MDR services adoption and awareness, and that's for a director of growth marketing. Awesome line. Virtual care manager, I guess we would have to, we would just have to do a different run on that. I saw your job board that you're hiring for an engineer in Chicago, Illinois, remote. I'd imagine you're looking for someone to enhance MediaFly's tech platforms for sales teams. Awesome. Nope, we won't read that one. I saw on your job that you're hiring for a speech and natural language processing research engineer. We should probably normalize these titles as well. I'd imagine you're looking for someone to enhance personalized adaptive learning experiences. So when you're reaching out to these people about and saying, oh, hey, like you're hiring for this job, you could use artificial intelligence to say, hey, I bet you're hiring for this job because you're trying to accomplish something. And yeah, so this is a lot of what I've been working on. Mainly, I wanted to show this video so that you could learn how to structure your prompts a little bit better and how you think about artificial intelligence. I think every campaign has an artificial intelligence input that you should be using, and you just have to connect the dots on how well can you say, okay, I know what your problem is. I did the research on your company and I can prove it, and here's how we solve those problems is the framework that I come to with all of these things. So yeah,